How's it going, guys? Welcome back. There aren't that many questions this time, but there's still some good ones, so I wanted to go ahead and put this out. And also, I feel like this is a good time to kind of give a channel update. Rise is, 2 days away? So I want to let you guys know what you can expect from this channel going forward. And yeah, just so you guys know what's going on. So let's get into it. So the first question comes from Bo, and he's asking about iFrames and how to dodge roars. So iFrames, I ended up counting how many frames are in the dodge roll, and it's only 4. This is a little disappointing since in MHGU we had 6 frames, but in World and Iceborne we had about 4.5 frames, so it's not too bad. Since we only have 4 frames, that explains why dodging these roars is a little difficult, the timing's a little tighter, but it still can be done. So when you're trying to dodge roars, there are a couple things you want to pay attention to. So go ahead and watch this clip, and I want you to see what happens when the monster roars. You see how that wave is going away from its body? That's the roar. And for all monsters, they're going to have a roar that's going to push away from its body in a circle. So one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to dodge perpendicular to that roar. So it gives you the best chance of actually getting through it. The next thing is, you're going to want to find what the tell is for when it's about to do its roar. Each monster is different, but it could be its head, or a claw, or its wing. Once you know what it is, just look for that, and you're going to want to dodge at the right time. Again, if you're having any issues with that, I have a monster breakdown for each monster, and if it has a roar, which some of these have multiple roars, I'm going to show you what to look for so that you can get through it. This next one comes from King Crown, and he's asking about Bitter Affinity. In MHGU, the devs put in a skill called Bitter Affinity, which was used to take weapons that have a lot of negative affinity and help them to actually perform a little bit better. So if you have a weapon that has negative affinity, when it does a negative crit, it's going to do 75% of its damage. But if you have Bitter Affinity, then when you negative crit, you have a 25% chance to do 200 damage. Is it worth it? I'm going to be using yet another damage calculator for this, since earlier I was testing it out and it seemed fairly accurate, and I kind of lost the other spreadsheet I was using. First, I ended up comparing that weapon against one with positive affinity, and then I looked at 2 realistic builds to see what would happen. To make these builds, I end up using Athena's "I don't want to get demonetized" search. You're not monetized, come on man. If you want to help me get there, keep liking these videos and subscribe if you haven't already. So I kept both sets at 400 raw and white sharpness, and the Bitter Affinity weapon, even with the 100% negative crit, just didn't cut it. For good measure, I ended up using these weapons with normal obtainable sets, and even then, the Bitter Affinity one just didn't work. I hope they bring it back, but they're gonna have to give it an overhaul. Whether they're changing the skill or they just give us more weapons that are gonna be able to take better advantage of it. But I do like the idea of trying to make these weapons a little bit better. So the next question comes from Sirhari, and I apologize if I butchered your name. But what he ended up asking was, what would happen if elemental damage scaled with motion values? And I wasn't completely sure what you meant by this question, so first I want to explain how elemental damage works, and then get into what I think your question was. So each monster has a different hit zone for raw damage and elemental damage, and your total damage is going to be a combination of both. If you want a more in-depth look on how this works, go ahead and check out my damage video for MHGU. So what I thought you were saying was, what would happen if the raw hit zones were the same as the elemental hit zones? If that was the case, elemental would be king. It would be so good that even Greatsword would be better as an elemental weapon. So the way I look at it is, if the raw hit zone value is lower than 30, and the elemental hit zone value is 30 or higher, then you want to use elemental. But for pretty much every other situation, you want to just go ahead and use raw. if the elemental hit zone was something like 65, like it is for some of these other monsters, you would always want to use elemental just because it would just crush everything else. Alright, so channel update. So during the last Q&A video, I ended up asking y'all what you wanted to see from me. And I was very happy that you guys liked the math videos and want them to come back. A lot of you guys also like the monster breakdowns, so we're going to have the monster breakdowns, the math videos, and then some extra videos that I just think are fun and interesting, kind of like the one that I made for MHGU. The math videos take a little while to research and produce, so I just wanted to let you guys know that they're on their way, they are coming, but they might just take a little while. I'm going to try to continue putting out at least one video a week, and yeah, I just hope you guys enjoy them and stick around to watch them. If you have anything that you want me to cover first, leave a comment below and let me know. So that's all I had. If you have any more questions for me, whether they're for Rise or MHGU, just let me know and I'll either answer them in the comment or we'll answer them in another one of these videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Boom.